All right, so we want to welcome you to Rethinking Education and Imagining the Future, a conversation about the educational experience in the new normal, or what we hope is temporary with a little residual effects. And today is our student edition, kind of inspired by our last chat and conversation. We thought, what more important to actually hear from perspectives and voices of the students that are going through this experience. Even though we're there to help you, it really is you that's having to do the work. We want to thank Byrex Medical for compiling such brilliant perspectives and voices from peers that you will hear from today. So I hope there's some students in here too, because they're going to give you some great strategies and make you feel like you're not alone in this. I know a lot of us are frustrated and trying to meet challenges that are just presented to us on a daily. Doing our best is all we could do. So we thought this would be nice to hear from the peers who are actually pushing their way through this new learning experience. All of our students are currently doing their academic school year remotely, and we commend them for all their hard work. I am Minia Tuklaya-Forkey. I will be your moderator for the evening. I am a New York State certified teacher. I have a degree in early childhood, elementary, and special education. So talking to kids is something I do on a regular basis. And I love them for their honest opinions. So be honest today, guys, because I am sure there are others out there feeling exactly the same way as you are. All right, so I want to introduce our panel for the evening. Joining us from the Bronx, Lucas, who's our 6th grader. Maya, from all the way from California, our 7th grader. Our 10th grader, same, from New York, from the Bronx too. And our 12th grader from our capital of the United States, Bilena, who is a senior in the class of 2021. So we are hoping that she's back at school for that amazing graduation and final senior year, but she's working her way through it to get there. We want to thank 2 experts for joining us today, Dr. Sagai Burhe, emotional and social well-being psychologist. Thank you for joining us. And the wonderful, amazing licensed professional counselor, Bizen Tesfazgi. Thank you so much for joining us. They will impart some great strategies towards us to help us through, because the whole point of this is we help each other as a community, as brothers and sisters, and we are very understanding that we are all going through this together. Even me as a teacher, having done remote and live in person now, the struggles are real. They need to be voiced and addressed, and that in turn could make us feel like it's a shared experience and that none of us are alone. So I want to currently thank all our participating students who are currently remote, each with a different voice, as to how the experience has changed for them, and it's changed from everything that we know. So we're going to start with our students today and end with our experts. So you're just going to introduce yourself, tell me how old you are, tell us what your day of learning looks like, because I know for some of the adults, they don't really necessarily know the scheduling of a full day for you remotely, what device you're using, because everybody's using a different device. And what platform your school is using. And if you're a private or public school. So let's start with our youngest participant, our 6th grader, Lucas. Lucas, if you unmute yourself, you just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lucas Miasho, and I am 11 years old. I'm using an iPad for my school right now, remote learning. And
Were you learning?
Yeah. So I have 5 hours of school each day, Monday to Friday. And the platform my school is using is Zoom.
So you're an expert here on this.
And I go to a private school named George Jackson Academy.
Thank you, Lucas. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for giving up some of your Sunday. I know your weekend is very valuable. Let's go to Maya, our seventh grader tonight.
I'm Maya. I go to an independent school, and I don't have a certain number of hours each day that I work on school. Well, that I go to school on a Zoom meeting since it's an independent school.
Yeah.
I use Zoom and Google Meets for classes, and I use School Loop and Google Classroom for grades and assignments.
Thank you, Maya. Same, our 10th grader for the evening. Same, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My
How
name
it's
is
going.
Gabriel Hannes. I'm a 10th grader. I have I have school 6 hours a day, and I don't get a break. And what we're using is the site called Amenum, and we're using Google Meet.
Thank you, Same. Same has a lot of homework after too, from what he's telling us. And our oldest, our senior.
Hi, I'm Bilena. I'm 17 years old, and I go to a private school in DC. And my school starts at 8:15, and we usually end at around 3:30. And it's usually a mix of online, like live instruction through Zoom, and asynchronous assessments or work through my school's website. And I use a laptop.
Thank you, Bilena. And it was her birthday yesterday, so we're wishing her all the best for her 17th year. All right, let's start with a couple of questions. You guys ready? So I want you to tell me if you have a set area in your house that you're working with, and then a set schedule for your day. And does that change, or is it pretty much the same every day? Lucas, you want to start us? All right, go ahead, buddy.
I would love to. Okay. So I work inside my room for school every day. So I wake up at 7:30 and I end school at 3:15.
And your schedule is pretty set by your teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you have breakfast in the morning and you make sure you're dressed and ready to go.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Thanks, Lucas. How about you, Maya?
I work either in my room or in this like little office section we have in our house. I don't have a schedule because like everything is usually planned differently each day. But I'd usually like plan the night before and just look at my schoolwork for the next day and think, oh, which one like do I finish faster from experience and which one do I need more help on? And I would finish the faster ones first and then slowly like go into the harder ones.
Because at the individual pace is to you, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Maya. How about you, Same?
So I work here in this bedroom, and I have a schedule, but I meet with my teachers each day also. So I get assigned like from a week, like Wednesday, Thursday, like that.
Okay. Do you have live instruction on a daily basis, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do get.
What we do is that we do work with our teacher in Google Meets, and then after that we will go to our next period.
Okay. Thanks, Same. And Same, actually, you could talk to having more than one kid in the house. Can you tell the people how many siblings are in your house simultaneously remote learning?
I have 2 siblings, and they're all doing remote class. So,
And yeah. And you all have your set space inside the house?
Yeah, my brother, he does his remote in the kitchen, and then my sister does it by the door, the front door.
Thank you. Thank you, Same. And Bilena.
I have a room where I do my work pretty much every day, and my schedule is pretty set by our school. We have every day of the week the same schedule. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. All right, here, this is a tougher question. Ready? What do you find the most challenging about remote learning? And I know this is like a loaded question because everything has changed for you, and the way you learn has changed, and the way you're being taught has changed. Yelena, you want to take this one, being the oldest, maybe? Like the most challenging, especially going through a senior year this way?
I think because our schoolwork has pretty much stayed at the same level from when we were in school. It's harder to stay motivated with your tasks sometimes because you have a lot of distractions like in your home, or I know for me personally, I feel I do my work best when I'm at school, when before quarantine and corona. So it's sometimes hard to just stay on track with your work.
Yeah. And you were saying that you only have a 35-minute lunch on the in-between, right?
Yeah.
Is that pretty much your only break in the day?
We have some 10-minute breaks between classes, but pretty much the only big break that we have is the lunch period.
Yeah, and I could see how you're self-motivated at this point, you know. Yeah. Thank you, Bilena. How about same? What do you find the most challenging about remote learning?
What I find most challenging is that
Yeah.
I think that remote is like it gives more confusion, like because teachers will give you a lot of work, but some students will fall behind and some students will be ahead. But that will be like more confusing to know how to get on track for that. I personally choose in person because in person the teacher can help you and you can see which assignments you need to do and you don't need to do, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so keeping up with the work and then just feeling disconnected from your teachers, kind of. Yeah. All right, thanks. How about you, Maya? Miss Independent School.
Basically what everyone else is saying, and
Yeah.
since I am going to an independent school, the whole point of it is being independent.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard when you're doing online school and trying to be independent, plus doing an online school or doing remote learning. So like you feel distance from the school environment, which really helped me. Like just sitting in a class with a bunch of kids working and like a teacher like watching, it just helped a lot. And I didn't realize how much it made me focus or made me, actually do my work until now, since that is like I don't have that anymore. I'm like in my room alone and working, and like I have my phone on one side and I have
Yeah.
like all these textbooks on another side, and I'm like, should I focus or should I not? And it's just like very complicated and like hard to just get everything on track and finish everything in time like you used to do.
Right, because your time isn't being managed by a teacher anymore. You're
Yeah.
managing your own time. All right, thanks, Maya. Really great points, guys. Lucas.
All right.
Most challenging.
The most challenging part about my school is how I lag a lot and it's really hard to hear my teachers and classmates, mostly because of the background noises.
In the live instruction part of it?
Because almost all of my teachers have either pets or children.
Do you find that sitting in one spot is challenging too? Because I know you're a kid that likes movement.
How did you know this?
I know, because we talked about this. I know. And most kids like movement. I mean, sitting still is not really the best thing, even for adults. It's not really the best thing.
Like right now, the second this is over, I'm gonna go and take a very long walk.
Yes, because that's one of your awesome strategies that you're going to tell the people about later. Are you ready for another question though, while you're still up there? You ready? Is there anything you like about this remote experience? Can you think of anything that you like?
I like being able to stay home and still being able to talk to my teachers.
All right. And how about you talked about some of your favorite classes? Tell the people like a couple of your favorite classes inside your Zoom iPad.
I love art and physical education.
Yeah, because you're not really sitting there, and it gives you a little bit more freedom, a little bit more creativity, and there's that movement again, right? That's awesome. Thank you, Lucas. You're the best. All right, Maya, is there anything you could say that you like, and it might go to that independence piece that you were talking about?
Yeah. So like I know it's like busy and stuff, but it's kind of hard to like notice that you're getting better at time managing each day or each week that goes by. Because like recently I've been way better at focusing than I was like, 4 weeks ago. And it really helps because even though they didn't really tell us how to do anything since everything was kind of rushed in a way, we kind of figured it out on our own, or at least I did, and like I'm getting better like each day. Also, you have a lot of free time, so like let's say your neighbors want to, have a little bike ride or something like around like the trailer, something like that. You could like do that, and like it's more, you have more freedom, I guess, in a way.
Right, more self-independence too, away from your teachers, away from your parents, right? Thanks, Maya. It was awesome. All right, same. I know we talked about this the other day. Is there anything since thinking about it the other day that you like about this remote experience?
Uh, the only thing I really like about remote experience is staying home, to be honest. But what's it called? Yeah, stay home. I have a lot of time to do my homework and my classwork because in regularly in person after school I have to do my homework and then I wouldn't have time. I would have to go to a club because I'm in a soccer club. So yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a lot of time. But since
Okay.
I'm at home now, I have a lot of time, more than enough time to do my homework.
All right. Thanks, Sam. And
Well,
Bilena,
I
is
like
there any?
aspects of the, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go.
Oh, I was gonna say, I like aspects of the flexibility that we have. I know for me, sometimes our first period won't meet in the morning, so you can sleep in a little bit or catch up on sleep. And then sometimes as well, you can have more time to do homework during the day, so you're not staying up as late to study.
Right, and your commute is really not too far anymore, right? Gives you a little more time to wake up your brain in the morning. All right, let's go to the next question. So, do any of you use any academic supports? Maybe it comes from your school, maybe from tutoring, maybe you get together with other students to do study groups. I know this wasn't a question that anybody really said they did the other day. Bilena, do you do any of those things or?
We have office hours at my school every day from 2:45 to 3:30. So sometimes I meet with my teachers if I'm behind or I'm struggling,
That's
which is
great.
yeah.
And I'd like to encourage all of you guys to use those teacher office hours. You know, don't just, if you're struggling with anything, most of the time your teacher will be understanding of it. I mean, the technology piece is so new to us too. I want you to understand that from the teacher perspective, that if you just talk, we're humans. So a lot of the time, if you just tell us that you're having struggles, don't ever be afraid to go to your teachers, even if, you know, you tell mom to send an email or something. Lucas, do you have any study groups or any tutoring,
I
anything?
mean, I have something similar to that in enrichment.
Oh, enrichment. And what happens? Tell us about enrichment. What
So
happens?
basically, there's a bunch of topics that we can choose from each year.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and we just talk about it.
On top of what they're giving you on a daily.
Yeah, it's like fun activities that we get to do at the end
Yeah,
of it.
that challenge the brain a little bit. Oh, see, that you could have added that to things you like about school too. Same, how about you? Do you do any tutoring or have any study groups with your friends?
for tutoring, my father helps me with my homework and my classwork. He's basically my tutor because last year he's the one that helped me pass algebra with a 90 and living
Oh,
environment.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
but
good
my
to.
school has hours, but I rather choose my dad because he makes me understand more.
Do you reach out to your teachers though, if you're
Yeah,
struggling with any?
I
Okay.
always tell them when I need help with a question or when I don't understand something.
Okay, good. How about you, Maya? I know you're very independent, but I wonder if they structure anything for you.
Yeah, they used to do a lot like the beginning of the school year. Now they do a bit like just to check over my work and stuff. And these are my parents, by the way. I don't really have a group or anything like that. I used to when I was like 8 or something, but like it was just kind of, you know, a waste of money since my dad or my mom could help me out with it.
And that's a great resource. I mean, our parents are great resources. Even if they don't know how to help you, because I know a lot of the time, like the math concepts that are doing are being taught very differently, but they can always find you the help somehow. So your parents are always the first go-to besides your teachers. So thanks, guys. All right, next question. So, do you feel as if you're able to connect? This kind of goes together. Maybe we could negate the teacher piece, since a lot of you said you're able to email or do office hours or reach out to teachers during your live meets or outside of them. Maybe we could gear this towards who helps you through any technical difficulties that you have through the day. Are you reliant on your parents or reliant on the teacher? I know that's a big piece of remote learning, is technically how to work something. Lucas, like if you have problems, who are you going to?
So I would first go to my mom.
Okay.
We would try doing that, but if that doesn't work, we would just email or send a message to my teacher.
Yeah, and do you find it easy to get in touch with your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Maya, how about you?
I usually ask my dad because he's a very techie person, but other than him, I would probably tell my teacher because like they probably have gotten familiar with the program already during the summer. So it's like different than when it was in spring. In spring, if I had technical difficulties, I, I just had to figure them out, or I would have to ask my dad.
Yeah, and I want people to understand a lot of the time the technical issues that happen are with platforms or device aren't necessarily teacher related a lot of the time. Um, like Maya, I know Maya was talking about losing documents and losing things saved. A lot of the time, if you just tell a teacher, they'll be understanding because we're having the same issues technically. So don't ever be afraid technically. Let's see. Same. How about you? What happens?
When I'm having technical difficulties, I will ask my parents first. If they don't know, if they can't help me, I will just send an email to my teacher saying that I can't join the Zoom class or I can't do my classwork because of my internet or the computer is not working, something like that. And
Yeah, it does.
they'll pretty much understand what I'm going through, and
Good.
they'll let me do it tomorrow.
Do you find it happens a lot or not really?
Nah, it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens like sometimes that when you don't pay the internet bills.
Yeah, no, that Wi-Fi, I mean, we talk about Wi-Fi being something that's essential and our devices are something that essential that really, I mean, some people take for granted, but those are really the core pieces of remote learning. And without those two things, then there is no remote learning. So people really need to understand the technical capabilities that need to be happening for these students to be learning. How about you, Belena?
Usually what happens, I've had this multiple times where our internet connection becomes unstable and then
Yeah.
you get kicked out of class. And usually I go talk to my dad and we'll try and figure it out. But for me, I haven't had instances where it's out for like the whole class or super long. So I can usually get back into the class within 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah. And believe me, it happens to teachers too. It happens to us all the time. Okay. So the land of virtual is not the most stable. Well, we talked about any kind of non-school extracurricular activities. I know Same was talking about soccer, and soccer club used to be happening for you, but is it still happening for you, Same?
They're still doing practice, but I wouldn't go because of this Corona stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm still,
is that your individual decision, or are your parents helping to make your decision?
it's my decision because I don't want to go. Because first of all, it's really far from where I am. Because before it used to be behind my building, but now it's like near a bridge, so I can't go. I don't have no teleportation. I don't have anything to take me there. A car or a scooter. I have nothing.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to hear that, buddy, but hopefully soon. Hopefully soon you'll be on that soccer field. Bilena, how about you? I know you have like minimal time. Do you have any extracurricular activities?
Yeah, I'm on the running team at my school, and so we do it by yourself. Like our coach will send us a training schedule, and then every day you're supposed to run on your own and log it in a Google Doc.
So you're able to stay socially distanced that way.
Yeah.
That's really interesting idea, actually. Thanks, Bilena. Maya, how about you?
I
Anything?
do I do fencing and cello.
Are you able to still do those virtually?
Well, fencing, no. But like when I play the cello, we would just go on Skype and because Skype works better in my opinion instead of Zoom because from experience, it hasn't really glitched out a lot on us. But yeah, we would do cello lessons on Skype.
Do you get to see other kids in your cello grouping?
No, well, I'm also in an orchestra, but I have private lessons and an orchestra that recently started.
Thanks, Maya. See, there are awesome pieces. How about you, Lucas? I know you're an extracurricular kind of guy.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I told you this, but on Thursday, my gym teacher had told us that we need to walk for at least 60 minutes a day.
And
he said,
you've been doing that.
yeah. And he said we can use a tracker or like this game called Pokemon Go. He said
And
that we
then
could do
and
that.
then do you record your progress?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. How about yoga and dance? Can we talk about some of those things that might help you through?
Um,
Because I love to dance and I love to do yoga, and those two things are pretty great for your mind at this point, being stuck at home.
yeah. I guess the dancing is pretty fun.
Yeah, and you're able to do all those activities virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. All right, so here's the question, and this kind of goes to, and I know you guys are going to tell me towards the end what you really miss the most, but how often are you guys interacting with your classmates? And then how do you communicate with them? Do you use email? Do you text? Do you Zoom? Google Hangouts? I know some students that have figured out to do Google Docs behind their teachers' backs and do a little text chain. I know some of you are very technically savvy. So, or maybe social media, I don't know. But I'm just curious to know how you guys are interacting with your friends since you're not really, I mean, besides a live instructional meet, like how are you interacting with your friends? So Bilena, you want to start?
I usually interact with my friends through texting or Zoom sometimes. And our class, like our grade, actually, to try and keep our senior grade bonded, we have class meetings every Friday evenings on Zoom. So that's a nice way that we have a nice routine to get to see each other every Friday.
That's cool. And there's a teacher that facilitates that, or?
No, it's actually run by, we have our like student body president they're both seniors, so they kind of manage it. But yeah, there's no adult supervision really.
Nice. That's even better. Same. How about you? How do you interact with your friends, classmates?
Um, how I interact is that I will go on my phone, text them, and I will tell them let's go to parks, play soccer since there's a park right near us, like that. Or I could what's called. Sometimes we used to go to like mall together, to the movies together, like yeah, and we would go to the beach together too.
Nice. I guess that was before remote started during your summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Maya, how about you? How do you feel you're interacting with your classmates these days?
Well, we either text or before we had phones or before we had each other's numbers, which was like last year, 2 years ago, we had a Google Doc together and we just like talked on there. And we still have it now, so like sometimes we'd go like update it just for fun when we're bored. And that's really it.
Thanks. And Lucas, tell me, how are you talking to your friends these days?
I usually just talk to them through chat because now we have a group chat so we can all talk to each other.
Are
And
you,
so that on Thursday we can just use a Google Meet and then we'll be able to see each other.
yeah, did she give you any time to be social in a Google Meet or?
Well, I'm talking about just my friends, no
Oh,
teachers.
that's nice. Oh, good. That's really cool. Who sets it up for you?
My friend Enzo.
Nice. That's really good. Genius way of using technology. See, there are good things about it. Um, So, Lucas, you stay on. So, like, how do you feel since you're not really seeing your friends or your teachers in person? Like, can you give me some description of how you feel on a regular basis, not really having that interaction?
Sometimes I feel like I'm just trapped in this box all day long.
I know the feeling, buddy.
But
It feel
sometimes when I feel like really lazy, I feel kind of glad that I'm staying home.
it's a little bit of both. A little bit
Mhm.
of lonely and a little bit of less distracted and being able to enjoy home, right?
Yep.
All right. How about you, Maya? How do you feel since you're not really seeing your friends and teachers in person?
Well, nothing really much now, but like sometimes at night when I can't sleep, I would like overthink or just like think about, hey, like we're still in a global pandemic, and it's kind of hard to believe because some people put it to the side, and it's like not one like a big problem that people are, talking about right now, since a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
people are, especially in California, are going and having parties and like not caring. So like it's hard to believe that we're still in a pandemic and that there's still a virus going around. So sometimes I think about that. But like, I stay home, I wash my hands, so I'm just kind of like used to it by now.
Yeah, it does tend to feel like business as usual sometimes, and that could be frustrating. I feel that way even if I am in school. That really we can't ignore that physically and mentally it's stressing to be in the middle of a pandemic. And then on top of that, you're supposed to keep your brain free and clear to learn. So we can't ignore that big factor. And I feel you on that from an adult perspective too. Same, how about you? How do you
Me
feel?
and my friends still interact with each
Yeah,
other. But what's called my dad, he teaches us how to speak Tigrinya and write Tigrinya on every Saturday and Sundays, I think. Yeah. Me and my friends will join his meeting. He will teach us how to speak Tigrinya and write Tigrinya every
that
day.
is awesome. That's a great idea. Tell dad I'm joining his class too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. Need it.
All right, Bilena, our oldest, how you feeling since you're not really seeing your friends and your teachers and you're kind of beginning your senior year this way?
Sometimes I feel like I'm used to it, so it's not that big of a deal. And then there are other times where I really miss certain people or just being in school and like walking to class. So it depends really for me. But yeah, I don't know. I go through periods where I'm fine and then periods where I miss the old routine a lot more.
Right. And then periods of motivation and periods of feeling really unmotivated.
Yeah.
You guys are really, I mean, you're giving us really. I want to bring it all together because I feel like we all found commonality in this next question. And it's really like, what do you miss most about not going to school in person? And I think it's probably the same as the entire pandemic, how you were feeling. So, what do you miss most about not going to school in person? Yelena, you want to start us off and we'll go backwards?
Definitely my friends and my teachers. And like I said before, just being able to be in the physical presence of school and like I miss the buildings even. So yeah.
Getting up and moving to the next class and
Yeah.
giving yourself that little bit of a break window. Thanks,
Mhm.
Bilena. Great answer. Same. How about you? What's the thing that you miss the most about not going to school in person?
I miss the most about going to school is my teacher, my living environment teacher, because she will make it very easily for us to understand, and she will let us watch movies every day when it's like there's no work.
Yeah, and you're an athlete too, so you had said gym too, right?
Yeah, I go to gym.
Having a real gym class. All right, Maya, how about you?
I kind of just like think about little memories from school, like let's say like one cloudy morning where something funny happened or like some little event happened, and I kind of just miss those. Like those are my highlights of like the year mostly, and I miss those times. But then like at the same time, I kind of don't miss school when I think about all the stress I had even in school because some people think, oh, when we go back to real school, like all the stress is gonna go away and like everything's gonna be fine. And it's like no, because like last year you were still like complaining about how like hard school was, and I know it's harder now, but like before it was still hard. It's not like easy.
No. And that social piece that makes it easier really is taken away from you. Thanks, Maya. I think you're older than 7th grade for some reason. So old soul right there. How about you, Lucas, our youngest member? What's the thing you miss the most?
The most I miss
Yeah.
are my friends in the school's art supplies.
Aw. Okay, and you stay on. So here's your last question. You guys have done brilliant. I need to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Brilliant. Okay, here's your last question. So if you could give tips, because we're thinking that other students are going to hear this, okay? And being that you guys are experts at this experience, and it really is all about you and your learning. So what are some tips you could give another student to help them feel more successful at remote learning? Or maybe a tip to parents to help their children feel a little bit more confident in it. Lucas, if you want to take that one first, just some tips. And I love your daily walk too. Give the people that your tip too.
Yeah, so sometimes if you feel like you've been staying at home for way too long, you should just slap on a mask and take like a small walk outside. You can keep your distance, but just try and relax.
Away from a screen, a little fresh air will do you some good.
Yeah.
Perfect, buddy. Thank you so much. Maya, how about you? I know you had some helpful tips.
Taking breaks is okay. Like sometimes when I am like working, I'm like I have to finish this without a break. But like sometimes breaks are okay. Like rest your eyes from looking at the screen and just do something else. And sometimes your break can include a screen. You can go on the TV and like watch a like small episode from like your favorite show or something. But like staring at like something on the screen that stresses you out is for like a long time, and you're like not being productive at it, and like you're stressed and frustrated and everything, like it'd be a good idea to like take a break.
I think it's a great idea. That's a great tip. I was finding that with myself, even about the 4-hour marker is the marker that I can't take it anymore, and a break is just fine. Even if it's 5 minutes just away and a little fresh air or anything you could do, just a little bit of a break, at least a little bit of a break. Okay. Same. How about you? You have any tips for any other students going through the same experience?
Yeah, my tip is that if you're doing online class, like 6 to 10 hours a day, I suggest you take a break from your laptop because your eyes really need it, because the light from the laptop to your eyes is not very good. Because if you keep on doing that and you don't get any breaks, you might lose your eyes and go blind.
Yeah. And I think, what? Go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
No, you go. Go. Your voice is more important. You sure?
Yeah.
And I think you were talking about to like having your own space. I mean, sharing some space with 3 siblings in a house and really creating your own space worked for you too, right?
Yeah. So
thanks, Zane.
Try to find as much space as you can. Like if you have 4 siblings or 3, I suggest you either tell the other 3 to go somewhere else, and then you grab your own personal spot.
Thanks, Zane. Bilena, do you have any words of wisdom to give to another student?
I find for me that structure really helps me whenever I'm feeling unmotivated. So try and have a routine, maybe like eat breakfast at the same time, have lunch at the same time. And if you go on walks or runs, try and go at like the same time, so that it'll help you have an actual structure to your day. But of course, take time for breaks, like everyone said. That's really important.
Yeah, manage your time wisely, right? Nice. You guys were absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. Now we're going to hear from some experts. Maybe they could give us some strategies. So from student strategies to expert strategies, we want to hear from our experts. Tonight we have Dr. Tsagai and Bizen with us. Bizen is a licensed professional counselor. She works in the school setting, so I'm sure she'll have amazing strategies for us, for our mind, for our body, for our soul, how to cope, how to adjust. Pizen, if you'll introduce yourself and take it
Sure.
away.
I just want to say I'm really honored to be here today. I'm glad I had the opportunity to be here with everyone. Thank you for everyone for putting this webinar together and making it possible for us to be here. So as I mentioned earlier, my role as a licensed professional counselor, which means like a mental health therapist. And some of you may be wondering, like, what is a mental health therapist? Like, what does that mean, right? A mental health therapist is almost like you're going to go see your doctor when you're feeling ill, or when you have to do your annual physical exam every year in order for you to be enrolled in school. So I see people come to see me to talk about their feelings, to talk about things that they're affecting them to do their schoolwork, problems they're having at school or at home, or dealing with like a difficult situation, like with losing someone. Maybe their parents are going through a divorce. So usually kids, families come to me and we talk about all those things. We talk about their feelings, how it's impacting them. And then we come up with some strategies and skills, as you guys just beautifully mentioned earlier, of what you're doing to actually adapt to the virtual learning world. So that's pretty much my role. And in my role, I know most of you guys seen a social worker at school, perhaps. Does anybody seen a social worker? If you can raise your hand. Yeah. And do you guys know what like a social worker does at your school? Anybody?
I know in my school, if anybody has any difficulties, she's the one you go to. She helps with social groups also. If kids need help making friends or anything like that, or if families are struggling in our neighborhoods, she's a great part to our building and a community helper as well.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Mina. So that's exactly what a school social worker does. They're there to support students within the school building, to talk about resources they may need to help them with their challenges with schoolwork, or they might need to know about maybe the student is getting bullied at school, right? Or maybe the student is having a hard time adjusting to the school environment because they're new and they moved from another state. So that's mostly like what a social worker does. And then in the school that I work at, I usually just do strictly like individual therapy, therapy with the families. I help problem solve situations that are happening within the school. And I also sometimes work with the school social worker as a team. So it's just, sometimes it's just not me, but I also come support the school or whatever they need to support the student. So that's primarily my role. Hopefully everybody got that, okay?
Yep. Thank you, Pizen.
Amina, do you want me to go to the next question? I know it was mostly talking about the tips for adults. Is that where I am? Just wanted to make sure I'm on the right question.
Yeah, any strategies you'd have for students and parents.
Okay. So I'll just start with what I have for parents. I wasn't sure if parents were going to be on
I
this.
see there are some that have joined us, so it's helpful to all of us. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So the parents that are joined in, or maybe the parents that are not here, you guys can actually go back to your parent and share this information with them, because it might be very helpful as well. So since parents are primarily models for the kids in the home, they have a perfect opportunity to influence like healthy coping skills in the home. So sometimes, your parents are usually the first go-to, because right now with the pandemic, we're all home with our parents, right? So this is a great time for parents to be able to role model and freely share their own personal feelings, their own stress related to what may be impacting them, right? And when parents do that, children usually model from their parents and like also emulate these same behaviors, and it encourages students to share their personal feelings, right? And another thing that parents can also do is model like some of these coping strategies. Self-care is another word, or coping skills. So if a parent is home, you guys see your parents a lot at home, and you might notice, they're saying, man, I had a stressful day today. I'm feeling really overwhelmed, right? The parent might role model by saying, you know what? I've had a long day today, and I'm going to go outside and walk for 30 minutes because I need to just get it out. Or they might say, I'm just going to rest. I need a reset button. I need to go in my room and take a nap. They might role model just eating healthy, drinking more water. So, you know, our parents are usually the first ones that we look at sometimes, which will generally help the child or the student kind of role model those same things to help them cope with their stress, right? Another thing that parents can also do with the students, you know, you guys are home more than any other time. Your parents could be working from home just like you're doing school from home. That's the most important time. Your parents can also listen to what you're going through, for them to acknowledge, oh man, they're also going through a lot. You know, sometimes parents just need to just listen. Sometimes they don't even need to offer any advice. And you might be able to say, Mom, I just want you to listen to this, right? So parents are very crucial during this period that we are with the COVID pandemic for the last 7 months. You guys are home together. They're observing you a little bit more. They're seeing what you're doing. So I just want to give some intentional check-ins for parents to do while you're home with your children oftentimes is knowing how your child's schoolwork is doing. Really setting some intentional check-in times at the end of the day, maybe first thing in the morning. What's your school schedule today? What is your assignment today? You know, is there anything you need from me? So it's really important for parents to just do some intentional check-ins. I know we get all very busy, and sometimes when we're home a lot, just because we're home, it doesn't mean that everything is going great in our world, right? It requires us to maybe just spend some time eating breakfast for the parents with their child and just checking in about their day. You know, we don't want to wait for things to get really bad or we're falling behind in school. I mean, you guys came up with some great input earlier. When I was speaking to you guys, I was like, wow, these guys are experts already, you know, contacting your teachers, notifying your parent, getting your parent involved. So you guys are already doing this, you know. And another thing I want to recommend for parents is like, sometimes you have to notice some signs that are unusual about your child that they might be exhibiting or might be displaying some behaviors that are very like questionable. Like, so one thing I recommend, if parents notice their child seems to be a little bit withdrawn, which kind of like standoffish, like in their room a whole lot, sleeping in a whole lot, maybe eating more than usual, right? Or spending a lot of time gaming. I know the kids that I work with currently, I'm constantly working with parents to figure out how to reduce their screen time, how to reduce their time on social media, and have a balance with it, you know? Right at this point, we don't have a lot of exposure to go outside. We have to social distance a whole lot. So we're not able to have like a human connection where we can actually engage with our peers, right? So it's critical for parents to really pay attention to what the child is doing in the home. And that can be an indicator for them to say, huh, I really need to check with so-and-so because I noticed this week, you know, she didn't want to eat with us 3 times. She sat in her room, you know? And those are also things that you can bring up to your parents about, you know, when I'm in my room a lot, Mom or Dad, or whoever your caregiver is to say, I'm just not in a good place. I'm in a bad mood. I have a lot on my mind, right? So the tips I just mentioned are really for parents to be a little bit more intentional. People are always busy, so setting out 10, 15 minutes a day to check in with the student, maybe go through your school schedule, your school planner, any trouble, and just parents merely just saying, hey, what do you need from me so I can help you, all right? And these are times that are different before. I think someone else said, we don't have like a real playbook to get through this coronavirus. We're just trying to do the best that we can to figure out like, how do we get through this, right? So that's one thing I completely want to recommend to working with your parents. So I'll pause there to see if anybody has any questions, any concerns. From what I heard earlier, I noticed there's a lot of parent involvement, so that makes me really happy to hear that. And you can add it maybe, or maybe just share it.
Yeah, Bizan, I have no questions just yet. Maybe we'll get some feedback at the end if you want to just roll right into some student strategies.
Mm-hmm. So another thing what I want to do is talk about students expressing their emotional needs to their parents. This is a really critical part because sometimes it's easier for us to express our feelings to our friends because our friends kind of understand us better than our parents, right? But our parents or parental guardians have our best interests in mind, and they might need to know what we need to meet our needs, right? It may not always seem that way because some parents they don't have the language to express what you may need, or there might be some barriers, right? So with that being said, it may not always be easy to talk to your parents, and it's natural to seek our friends. However, there are practical ways, friends, that you can talk to your parents about your feelings. So I'll just give you a couple so that you can kind of think about these things. And when you're engaging with your parent, you can think about, I can try this. So the first thing I always recommend is identify and express the feeling in the best way you can, to use the words to describe your feelings, right? So I do a lot of emotional work at work, identifying feelings, moods. So for example, here are some emotions you want to express to your parent or your legal guardian or your father. Is like, I'm feeling really worried. I'm feeling really sad. I'm really scared. I'm really upset. I'm tired. I'm nervous, right? So when you're expressing yourself to your parents, they have an idea. Wow, they have a lot of feelings that they're experiencing. So the next thing to do in these conversations with your parents is know, like, what do you want from your parents? What do you want them to do in this situation, right? So sometimes parents, they just need to listen to you, right? They just need to validate what you're going through. They just need to acknowledge you're going through a hard time right now. Another thing could be you're asking them for support. You're specifically thinking about, mom, dad, I need this. And then you might be asking, I need outside resources, right? So for instance, I work with a lot of kids that struggle right now with the virtual learning, right? Their assignments seem to be much harder. They don't really have anyone to help them with their math. They have other siblings in the homes that are also dealing with this. And sometimes there's parents that are working, so there's no outlet, right? And then there's some kids that really don't know how to advocate like you guys did to reach out to your teachers, right? So it's important that you can really spend time with your parents saying, I really need help with my Spanish class. I really need help with my biology class because I'm not getting it. Maybe at that point, your parent can reach out to the teacher or possibly get you an outside tutor so you can kind of work through these challenges, right? So it's all about identifying the feelings. And also, it's really important to pick a good time to speak to your parents. We have some parents that are maybe at home with you all day, and there are some parents that are working a whole lot, right? So it's figuring out, like, when is the right time to talk to my parent? They're home in the mornings or they're home in the evenings, that I can really speak to them what I'm going through, right? And it's nice to pick out a time where you have, like, you're not distracted when you're talking to your parents. So picking a time out to go to a walk, go to lunch, sitting together, eating breakfast together. So it's really critical to pick out a good time, because when I know I'm stressed and someone's trying to ask me for help within my family, I say, you know what, the best time to talk to me is like when I'm done with my work day, or on Saturday, when I can give you all of my attention, right? So picking out a good time is really important. And another thing I would encourage you guys is, if you still find it difficult to talk to your parent, I grew up finding it hard to talk to my parents sometimes because they didn't really understand. I would join in my siblings with me or a cousin to be like, hey, I'm really struggling to talk to my parent about this. Can you please come talk to my mom and dad about this? And they would sit with me and they would support it, right? So that's another thing. And then the last thing is, say if you just can't talk to your parent, or you just don't know how to talk to your parent, seek out an adult that you can really trust. It could be a relative, it could be a school teacher, it could be someone that you know from the community that you can feel encouraged by, and they can believe in you and support you. I highly recommend not going to your friends, not going to a peer, because sometimes your peers are also going through the same thing and they may not have the answers you may need, right? So talking to an adult that's a little bit more experienced, or maybe that's in college or a higher grade level, to talk you through about how to figure out what do you need, all right? So the next thing I want to talk about is the coping strategies and support systems that we need to kind of deal with the rapid, unexpected changes in our school learning environment. So, as we all know, over the last 7 months, we've been dealing with the global coronavirus pandemic, right? In addition to that, we've also been dealing with the racial unrest and tension in our nation, which came from the killings of unarmed Black people, right? Just to name a few, we've been dealing with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Elijah McClain, and also Ahmaud Arbery. So there's been a lot of that. So with that being said, there's new changes we have called to new stressors in many of our lives. We're wearing masks now, we're socially distancing, we're meeting more online, such as today. And there's a lot of people grieving for a lot of losses during COVID. They've lost loved ones. There's also that going on. And students are now attending school virtually online, which requires you to continue to adapt to this new norm. So, as I mentioned earlier, in my role as a mental health therapist, I help my clients talk about their feelings, I process their emotions that might be stressing them out. So one thing that we do in our work together in my office is we come up with coping strategies. Some of you guys have already said that so well earlier, right? So coping strategies, another word is like coping skills. So I want you guys to think about this. So I know most of you guys have in your home that your parents use like a toolbox. A toolbox could be where they keep their hammer, nails, maybe a wrench, right? So toolbox is the same thing as a coping strategy, but it's your own personal one that you're going to use, putting a bunch of toolbox in it. And you're not going to be walking around this toolbox with coping skills. These things are mostly internal. But while you're home and I'm doing all of my work virtual with my kids online, is we make coping skills out of a shoebox. We start decorating the toolbox. We start adding things in there, and it makes it what they need. And one thing I want you to keep in mind is everyone has different coping skills. Everyone has different coping strategies. None of us use the same thing. I heard, I think it was Lucas talking about the walking, Some people don't really need a lot of body movement, To me, body movement helps me. It gets me out, gets me under nature. I feel relaxed. I come feeling like really good. But then there's some other people that require, just to talk it out with someone, just to talk about what's going on with me, right? And there's some people that require to use some positive self-talk. So if you're constantly dealing with some thoughts in your head that keep coming back, we talk about how could you add positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk, right? And there's some people that will do yoga, some people would do meditation. I know you guys probably don't have a whole bunch of information on that, but there's tons of stuff online. And the yoga is really stretching, even sometimes breathing to help you focus when you're dealing with difficult assignments. I heard you talk about sometimes the distractions with getting on Zoom, the technology. I heard you guys talk about when there's a lot of distractions and technology problems. These are the times you can use some mindfulness. And we could talk about those too, some grounding exercises, just to kind of help you become present in the moment, to help you transition to learn, right? So there's a bunch of coping skills. So with the healthy coping skills, guys, there's also a lot of unhealthy coping skills, right? And some unhealthy coping skills is excessive social media use, right? I'm guilty of that sometimes, where I find myself, or if I can't sleep, I'm just strolling through social media. Or sometimes we do things that we're avoiding a problem. We're avoiding talking about something that we need to really talk about with someone, right? And we also use a lot of negative self-talk too. Sometimes we're constantly saying, this is too hard. I have a senior I deal with now. She's constantly talking about she's not going to be able to write her college essays, her SAT scores, apply for college. She's looking at everything in this big bubble, but we have to take steps to step back, use her planner to schedule out how she wants us to look like, using a lot of more support from her other senior friends that are doing this and how they were able to do it. So I did send out a handout earlier with a bunch of coping skills you can use, and you can break it down by what you need, you know. And like I said, everybody's coping skills are not the same because we all require something different to help us. Currently, where I work at, I have some cases that I have a child that's going through a divorce with her family. So right now, she's between two households. So for her to focus on virtual learning has been extremely difficult. She's lost her mood to keep up with her schoolwork. She has no motivation. She's having a lot of stress around trying to learn how to cope in two different households. So there's so many things that people use differently for coping skills. So I really, really encourage you guys to think about your own coping skills. Take time out to make a shoebox with a bunch of coping skills. And when you make your coping skills, you're adding pictures, maybe positive affirmations that remind you of something that's very important. I love Maya Angelou, so I use a lot of her quotes from my own personal affirmations. Sometimes I have things that I keep in my house to say, like, you got this, you know, to remind me, you know, this is a very troubling time, but I see it and it reminds me things are going to get better. So there's so many things you can do to make your own coping skills. And one thing I tell a lot of my seniors is like this toolbox that we've made during our time together, you take it with you to college, you add to it, because it's almost like your safety net. It's very important to have because, you know, we're going through this pandemic right now, but in life, other things will come up when you're adjusting to college or you're adjusting going to high school. So coping strategies are a way to help you because you're not meant to maybe see a therapist. This is something you could just completely deal on your own, and you have these strategies to your disposal.
Thank you, Bizen. That was absolutely informative and wonderful, and I hope our students felt the same way. You did make us a wonderful handout, so if anybody wants a copy of it, we'll make it available to everybody on all the strategies that you were talking about, coping with every single outside force that's coming at us, and how do we do that? Our great conversations for our students, and that piece that you talked about is just being positive. That's like one thing, if we can imprint on you students, is just go at it from a growth mindset is what people usually say, not a fixed. If it's fixed and it's negative, 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 and I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, that becomes the product of it. So with a growth mindset, you really want to say, I could do this and you got this. And I love your little sign, Bizen. And thank you so much, Bizen. And since we're talking about coping skills and great minds, let's give it to our expert psychologist, Dr. Tsagai, who will further give us some strategies on and tips for all of our emotional, psychological, and mental well-being. And we thank you for joining us, Dr. Tsagai.
Thank you. I think Bizen has really given a very good background upon which I think we can build up our coping strategies. Very well summarized and presented. Thank you, Bizen. Thank you to the students as well. I have to say that they are very resilient and they are very fortunate as well that they have a good family background and support within the family, and that is what helps kids primarily actually build resilience. So to the resilience part, I would like to say few things. There's some good news that has been coming from the resilience studies that says that resilience can be nurtured in all kids, and that it's not the nature of adversity or the degree of stress and life events that we experience that determines how we will come out of situations or what the outcome of our health would be, rather than the ability to cope. And basically, what we can say is that all kids are capable of learning skills to deal with and bounce back from stress, confusion, challenges, and other adversities. That is what's called resilience. Basically, resilience is bouncing back um, from setbacks in life. You fall and you get back up. That is what this is, and every person has essentially the ability to bounce back from adversities, even kids. That is what was shown in their adverse childhood experience studies that had the worst kind of experience in life, including traumata, are able to go through um, um, the fate and hardships that they have experienced actually with the strength. And that has been actually the, the, the inquiry as to why some kids are able to do that and some not. So about 30, 35 years, prospective studies have shown that 1/3 of the kids actually are able to, to go through whatever life throws at them um, with quite good outcomes in life. And 1/3 are maybe in between, and the other third seems to continue experiencing persistent life issues. So like adults, children will have different ways of experiencing distress. Uh, Individually, you can say that our coping capacity has some limitations. We can show some resilience in one area and struggle in other area. Um, and and that in itself is also something that is being looked at in many research at this time. It's started with the stress research in the 70s. It's now called resilience research. Very hot topic currently in psychology and psychiatry. In general, children may struggle to express their feelings verbally, and instead they might become more emotional. They might withdraw, as Bizan was indicating before, and they might even become defiant or feel upset or frustrated. And I think as parents, even the children need to know that that's okay. That is human reaction to something unknown, to something new. It's not that you are different or that it is your fault. It is what it is, because as children, we are more likely to react to situations with emotions. And one of the maybe interesting um, uh, things that children and youth would be would like to explore is that in fact, what we call our mind actually is not necessarily our mind. So our mind, according um, to research, in fact, is full of things that have been conditioned, that have developed subconsciously, basically, since we were born, based on our personal experiences, culture, and other factors. Some even say that our thoughts may have even come from our ancient ancestors. And this is um, going back to African savanna, when Homo sapiens were struggling with survival. So the focus on survival when we were living in the wilderness, uh, having to be very aware of the dangers. When you look at us personally, we are actually quite weak. Can't run fast. We can't fight. So we had to be extremely careful dealing with the sable-toothed tigers or other huge animals stronger and faster than us. So that is where our mind has been built upon. This is to say that our mind is actually primarily focused on survival, because that is our history. As you know, human beings have come from Africa. Without Africa, there would not have been human beings. The only place the Homo sapiens, hominids could have survived was the African savanna. 200,000 years ago, the hominids actually tried to leave Africa, and all of them got extinct. It was the only place that hominids could develop into or evolve into Homo sapiens was African savanna. It is 60,000 years ago that um, humans had begun to leave Africa. That is when they had actually already experienced the mind's big bang and had the level of intelligence that we have. So our intelligence has actually not changed ever since. It's the same as it was. If anything, the numbers of our neurons may have even decreased over time rather than increased. Essentially, the intelligence is the same. What has changed is the color of skin and our physiognomy, but the rest is the same.
So,
So
Dr.
this,
Tsagai, can we talk about, like, I want to give the kids something solid to land on, and I like your conversation of survival.
yes, and I'll get back.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that. The reason why I'm mentioning this is I wanted to basically tie this up with the idea of fear, where fear is coming from. So when I was talking about this, what I meant is that this is still in us, that the fear is coming from our mind. The fear is actually situated in the lower part of our mind. The mammal mind, so to speak, the part of the brain that had developed later in the evolution. But there is another layer to it, and that is the neocortex, the thinking brain. When we deal with situations like these, the first thing that comes into our mind is threat, a threat. So when we talk about mindfulness, what we mean is being mindful of the thoughts that you have, being in the know that the thoughts that you have are actually not your thoughts. That's what it means. That's what mindfulness means. And it is meta-awareness, or meta-awareness. It is being aware of the thoughts that you have, because the thought is actually the beginning of everything. So when I don't think, I have no fear. So it is for us to know that much of the things in our life right now are actually okay, but our mind may have a tendency to catastrophize because our brain in the first place is concerned with survival. And that's what I want you to know, students. You're good. Look around you. When you're aware and practice just the presence, what is okay. And we can say that from Eritrean perspective, where in fact, you didn't know what was going to happen the next minute. That is our history. You can talk with your parents about that part of our history, but we had values. We had values at the time that had helped us to go through hardships. And when you have, for instance, the value of learning, or let's say achieving grades, that's not enough. That's not enough. The grades are something that can be goals, but when you fail them, you may quit. But you won't quit if you have a value behind it that is higher than you, that is bigger than you. And that is what we had as Eritreans. There was a lot happening, but we had a higher value, and that is no matter what it takes to liberate the country from atrocities of decades and centuries. That higher value gave the people the resilience that they had, and they were united in it. So I would like to encourage you not only to study for grades, but have a higher value. The higher value is you see where parents have come from, family has come, where community is. For me, for instance, in fact, I was in Eritrea as a medical student, and there was a kid that I didn't know what was wrong with him. 4 years old, Jonathan was his name. And he had, as I learned later on, PTSD. And I thought I'm going to study medicine, psychiatry. Because that was my higher value. That is, no matter what it takes, whether I fail or pass, I'm just going to continue. I would like to encourage you that, because you'll go through this crisis more easily if you have an idea, a vision behind it. And if you know that this shall pass, this is something that is going to go, because pandemic is pandemic. Normally pandemics, there were worse pandemics in human history that have come and gone, and these are going to go. But the one thing that you have is your family and the support that you're getting from the family, and add to that something larger than you, something bigger than you, something that is beyond the mind. Beyond the mind. The mind is full of concerns, fear, and worries. But if you can say, for instance, I'm going to change my family's life, I'm going to help my mom to retire earlier, my dad to retire earlier, have worked hard in a country that they were first immigrants working 3-4 jobs. Higher ideal values, that is what you can get resilience from. The resilience comes from, the studies show, primarily from the support that you get from your family and the values that you get from your family and community, and it comes from people that you have strong bond to. The way we bond to you kids is different. We love you unconditionally, but we don't talk. And you will understand, it's not that they don't want to talk to you, but we have a different concept. We were not raised that way. Even in Europe and America, there are many parents, despite having been here for generations, that struggle actually with the concept of psychology. Now, why? Because we started speaking actually late in our human development, evolution. 50 years old only. The rest has been here for millions of years. Just contrast that. So speaking is not really the first thing that was there, but we can feel, we can have compassion, we can have kindness, we can have love. And I remember one of the Korean colleagues telling me, my daughter growing up in the States tells me, you know, Dad, why don't you say I love you? And he answered, his answer was, why do I have to say to you I love you? Because I do anyways. I don't have to verbalize it. So that is his way of answering to his teenage daughter. So we communicate differently to each other. There is a much stronger way to communicate with kids, and that is giving them hugs and actually showing them affection and love like we do without putting words. That we are learning. I think Bizan gave you good tips as to how to encourage your parents to talk to you about things that are bothering you. But Bizan is right. You know, even when you go to the history of King Solomon, you see two moms have claimed one kid, and King Solomon, um, King Solomon's way to solve it was, okay, one part of the legend or story says that he asked his guards to put the baby in the fire. The other says to cut the baby in half and give each half. And the mother screamed, just let the kid be, give it to the other mom, because she was the real mother. So that means your parents are always going to have the best interest of you in their heart, and they are the best people to talk to and to address issues to. Of course, the parents will have to also be finding ways of encouraging the children to talk to them, be on the listening side, because we have a tendency to maybe talk a little bit more than listening. So the other part in this, in terms of what determines resilience, is self-regulation. So the ability to self-regulate is an ability that some of us have and some of us don't. But those of us who don't have the ability to self-regulate can actually develop it. And that is a very, very important protective factor in relation to resilience. What does it mean? Self-regulation is to manage, to be able to manage disruptive emotions and impulses, to think before acting, and to cheer yourself up. That's to act with the deepest held values. You see, that's again back to the values. Usually these values will have been passed on to us by people that we have strongest bond to. It can be parents when we are fortunate like you, and or caregivers, teachers, and other mentor-like figures. So that is one of the things that was seen in these adverse childhood experience studies, is that the kids that have made it, despite all odds, had somebody that they had bonded to. So the bonding part is very important. So to cut it short, you know, we can call it in terms of adjustment to what is happening or what happens to us in our life. You can call it cognitive reframing. So the cognition part of us, the thinking part, that comes from neocortex. So when we practice mindfulness or awareness, It means we are actually slowing down the mind, and resorting to the thinking brain. And that is where mindfulness therapy, yoga, and other things um, can help. It is basically going up um, in the strata, in the spectra of your brain. Going up is slowing down with your thinking, questioning your thoughts. Is that true? Is it true that it feels like the end of the world, this pandemic? And when you ask yourself, is that true? Then you don't have really evidence to say that this is the end of the world. It is not. It is not. Then that is where the place, the space, the pause comes in. And that is when you actually no longer feel stressed and no longer keep producing the stress hormones that would cause a lot of issues. That is what causes the anger, the sleeplessness, pain, fatigue, etc.
And we hope this conversation is helping with that become a little less stressful on you guys, and understand that the resilience part that Dr. Tsagai is talking about really just is to push you guys to just do your best no matter what anybody is asking of you. All right. And that's what we want you guys to take away, and that we are your support here. So if you guys ever feel like you need anything, somebody else to talk to that's not, mom, dad, your teacher, that we build this community together as brothers and sisters, and we get each other through. Bizan, did you want to add anything else for the kids, or?
No, I was just going to add that I know we're talking a lot about emotions and feelings, being resilient, prioritizing our mental health. Mental health is not a bad thing. We all have mental health, right? When we're dealing with a test or we're dealing with hardship, life stressors, right? So it's important that we take our mental health, our emotional well-being as serious as when we're sick and we need to go see a doctor, right? We should never neglect attuning to our mental health or emotional well-being when we're stressed. So that's just one thing I always want to encourage you guys to just don't push it back and, avoid it and deal with it later, but prioritize it like when it's something important that you're doing outside of school, an activity or joining with your family, but prioritize like, what's going on with me? Why do I feel this way? What is different about me? Some people talked about losing motivation sometimes to do their work, and that's pretty normal, and that's something that we all experience. Sometimes I experience that in my own work, like I'm dreading to do my reports, I'm dreading to do all this extra stuff. I lose motivation working at home. So it's important to continue to work at that, because there's so many skills out there that you can learn. Honestly, YouTube is one of my friends. When I don't know some information or I want to get a little bit more perspective on it, I'll search on the YouTube and I'll look up something dealing with blah, 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 and things will pop up. Even one day, there was a student and she really didn't get our coping skills toolbox that we talked about, but we went online together. We found a great video showing how to make a toolbox, what's important for a toolbox. So I encourage you to reach out to people that you know that can really support you. Like Nina said, we're also here for you. I'm willing to provide you my information if you want more information. But just prioritize your mental health and well-being, because it's a lifelong thing as you get older. It doesn't stop because you're an adolescent or a teen, but it also goes into your young adulthood and as you get older. And in the world we live in now, mental health is talked about more. We're trying to get away from that stigma of like, don't talk about it. And within our Habesha culture, we're moving in that direction to talk about mental health and how to take care of yourself. So if you know that you don't know the answer, reach out to someone that does,
Thank you, Bizan. Thank you. That was so helpful. And to our psychiatrist, Dr. Tsagai, thank you so much. I think the kids really appreciated hearing from some experts. And we are going to end it here. We have hit the final hour and a half you guys made it through. We could probably continue this conversation for another 2 hours, I am sure. But I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Lucas.
Well
Thank
done.
you, Same. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Bilena, because without you, this conversation would not be. And really the most important piece of this learning experience is you, okay? And you have to feel successful at it, and we want you to be successful at it. So that's what this conversation is really about, just to support you guys, okay? And thank you to Byrex Medical for this wonderful platform, the Byru family, from everything from IT to PR, all-inclusive consultation, our Dr. Adium helping and lead to gather us behind the scenes, all our wonderful participants that have given up some of their weekend time today. We applaud you. You guys were brilliant. And I want you to know that everybody in the audience is saying how wonderful you are. Absolutely fantastic. For you are not machines, and this is a human experience, and we all know that. And it makes us even, our hearts more full to hear your voices, and we need to understand this experience is shared, bringing us together as a community, feeling informed and supportive by our brothers and sisters, okay? And the roller coaster of feelings that Bizen was talking about through this process are not ignored and rather heard. And we just want to push you with that growth mindset of solidarity, resilience, as Dr. Sagai said, support, meeting all these challenges as best as you can, successfully through it. This is a process. And as Dr. Sagai said, temporary, okay? It's temporary. So we're going to hope for the best. We want to keep you motivated. We thank everybody for joining us. Bizen, did you have anything else you wanted to add on top of it?
I just want to give a big shout out to all the students on this panel, because you guys were amazing to spend your Sunday afternoon. That just says how much that you're prioritizing this important topic, you know. I mean, you guys know so much. I was amazed at all the things that I heard. I was like, wow, these kids are already, you know, in a great direction. I know the information you have, you'll be able to share it with your peers. You know, when you guys are on these groups or these text messages, you know, you could talk about what you're doing and creating a little space between you guys to support one another. And I just commend you for taking your time out to be here on a Sunday, where you could be getting ready for your school week or watching football games or, you know, hanging out, whatever that looks like. But this just says a lot about you, how you're prioritizing something that's really important for you to be involved at. And this is like the right step for you to come to many things that will come in the future like this.
And you guys helped a lot of people today. I'm pretty sure of it. Helped us understand even as adults, okay? So you guys have voices, use them proudly, okay? And if you need help, ask for it, and we're all here for you, okay? And don't forget to get your people to vote too, because your voices are what matter, and we need a great future for you, okay? If anybody has any questions out there that we didn't get answered today, you could just text our leader, coronavirus@byrexmedical.com. And we thank you all for joining us, for having a wonderful afternoon and evening. This was absolutely fantastic. Until next time, kids, we applaud you, because without you, this would have been nothing. Thank you so much, guys. You guys were awesome. Have a good rest of your evening.
Bye,
Everybody's saying how awesome you were. Bye, guys.
Sunday.
You guys were fantastic. Nice job. Bye, Same. Good meeting you. Call me if you need me. Dr. Tagai, nice meeting you. Nice seeing you in person.
Yeah.
Same
We'll
here.
see each
Thank
other.
you.
Bizen, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Well
Thank you,
done.
Mina.
You guys, thanks. I'm trying so we can hear your voices.
Yeah, I listened to the last video that you guys did last month, and I was so amazed, and I enjoyed watching
They
it.
were so good. I mean, it has nothing to do with me, really. You know, they were amazing. And to get kids to do this is really just like, says something about them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope this gives somebody out there a little peace of mind for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you know, we're all struggling, and
Yeah.
hopefully you can find some calmness in this all and use that toolbox of coping. I know I need the toolbox right about now. I feel like a crazy lunatic.
Let me know. I can help you with that.
Yeah. Are you in Florida still right now?
No. Well, yeah, I was there in the start of the pandemic. I left around, I left in April, then I came back in July. because I had to take care of some things at home, and my
Yeah.
car was like in the streets. I was like, maybe I need to move it. But depending on, I work for Mary Center, which is an agency, but we're contractors for DCPS schools.
Oh.
So if DCPS opens, it doesn't mean we have to go back, because our
Yeah.
agency operates differently. We want to make sure that, we're safe, and that, we don't have to go back to school because the kids are going back to school,
Yeah.
and just continue to do everything virtual. But if they go back, and if we end up going to phase 4, most likely we'll go back in the school building. But if not, I will probably go home and just, spend time with family in
That'd be nice too.
January. Yeah, it was good to
Yeah.
get away and just get away from, the busyness here.
Yeah, and this computer screen. I'm back in, so I'm full-time in.
Are you back in school
So
now?
yeah, so it's a completely different, like the kids, when we talked on Thursday, the kids had so many questions for me, because me being the only one that's really experiencing this whole other level of stress
Yeah,
is just, I mean, yeah, so it's been whichever way it goes.
I know.
It's not exactly what we all want, so
I know.
I'm hoping for better for all of us soon. But
Yeah.
it was lovely to meet you. We'll see
Yes,
each
thank
other.
you.
Now we're connected through the Byru circuit.
Yes. It
Yeah.
was. Thank you for Byers Medical for doing this too, and allow me to be.
Ay. And that handout you made was absolutely fantastic. I think I'm gonna have to put it up on my wall for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just wanted to tie it into whatever that was made sense for this age group. I had to take a lot
Oh,
out and put some other stuff in there.
they were listening so intently to you. They were really taking it all in. So thank you so
I
much
got
to
a couple
you.
of notes, feedback. That was so cute of them.
They are great. They are fantastic. We couldn't have asked for better students.
Yeah, definitely. They were amazing.
Amazing on a Sunday when
No,
they have school tomorrow.
I know. And you
It's a
got
lot
work tomorrow too, right?
I am actually, luckily, I have a holiday tomorrow, but tomorrow is checking on my parents and all day lesson planning. So
Okay.
I got lucky
Well,
for
you
one
be
day.
safe, and do
I
some good
will.
care for yourself, and.
Yeah, I really try. I mean, we've been going 16 days now, so we've been in it. We've been in it for a while. So every day is a new adventure. So we just keep my fingers crossed and hope that we're safe.
Yeah, and have some
Yeah.
compassion for yourself. But like the doctor was saying, don't forget to have some self-compassion and being kind. And some days are harder than others. Just acknowledge those, take a break. Things like
Yeah, because we're still all doing it through a pandemic. I think people want it to be business as usual most of the time, even the pacing of like my curriculum. But it all needs to kind of slow down.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
is human experience.
Yeah. Well, continue to advocate for yourself. Speak up. I know a lot of the teachers here in DC, they try to speak up and get their union reps involved. But it's just like a process, so it's gonna take time.
Yeah, we're kind of working it through together. It really takes everybody at the bottom level doing all the hard work, and making it look easy and making it be successful for the kids, whichever way we go.
Yeah. What school are you at, Mina, by the way?
I'm here in New York on Long Island. I don't know if you know Long Island.
Yeah. I have a friend that moved up there for a job. She's a social worker, but I forgot what school she's at.
Yeah, so I work for a public school district out here.
Oh, I think
I do second grade, so my kids are much, much smaller.
Yeah, but they're also a handful. I have some second graders on my caseload that I deal with.
It's a lot of energy, and I try to give the energy, so I leave exhausted,
Yeah.
I feel like you got to give the energy in order for you to ask them to learn. Yeah, it's a lot.
Reach out if you need any support, and thank you so much for being the moderator today.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
It was an easy way to help. Thanks, Adam. Did I do you service? Because you're hard your shoes to fill.
Listen, awesome. Thank you. It was awesome. It was great, and the students did a great job.
They did.
They're amazing.
Yes. So thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Okay. Have a good night. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Okay, we'll talk
Enjoy
soon.
Sunday night. Off of the computer screen.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll talk soon.
Take breaks.